There you go.
Somebody emailed me the other day, I think they want to run against me. What I could do for our district, what new streets we could put in. You can.
Yeah.
Cynthia Rushka, she told me, and
Yeah, well.
Morning, everyone. I believe it's 9 a.m. I will call the
wait
meeting
to see
to
our
order.
organization.
Do I have an make sure everything's posted?
Yes, we do, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, next thing on the agenda, approve the minutes from July 6th. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Amendments, changes, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye. Oh, my vote counted.
Opposition, the motion carried. Public comment on agenda items. Anyone from the public on Zoom? I don't see anybody. Oh,
No, it's always on you.
all right, we will close that portion. Agency reports.
Morning,
That would be NRCS, I believe.
Yeah,
Good
yeah.
morning.
just not much to report or just a few updates. For EQIP, the 2024 sign-up dates have been announced now, so they're kind of consistent with how we've been doing things for the last few years now. So we have 2 sign-ups each year, so people need to apply by these deadlines to be considered for funding for our environmental quality incentive program. November 1st is the first deadline you have for 2024 funds. And then May 17th is the second deadline. So there's 2 opportunities, but the best opportunity is in that first sign up. So anybody interested in, having, a site, a farm evaluated for eligibility and things, and just signing the application is quite simple by November 1st of this year. The conservation stewardship program sign up deadline is February 9th of 2024. So that's more rewarding people for conservation they've already done. We enroll all the land they operate and own. And then you do some new enhancements or activities, practices during the 5-year contract. So that's conservation stewardship program. So those are our 2 primary programs. Very, keep us busy for sure. So this time of year, we're out doing no-till checks, checking out other installations of practices during this construction season, and just certifying practices, making payments and all that stuff. So that keeps us pretty busy. So if anybody wants any more information on any of our programs, just connect with me after the meeting. I'm happy to talk about your specific situation if there's anything that you're interested in. That's really all I have.
Thank you. Any question? Who would be Rachel?
Yes, yeah, so, nothing really to update on the Great Monkeys project. We're going to be starting mapping in Winnebago here pretty soon. Currently mapping Great Monkeys out in Kewaunee and Brown counties. So we'll be on for control with those counties, next year, likely or the year after. So that's kind of the flow of things as we map it and then we find.
How bad is it?
I mean, if you go on our website, it's glaciallandrcd.org. We actually have an interactive invasive species map on there, so it'll show you where everything has been mapped so far. And it'll show you which species they are, so mostly it's red monkeys, but we do map like teasel or barberry, those sorts of things. If we come across this website again, it's glaciallandrcd.org. Yeah. Okay.
Big report.
Just do not take this wrong, but just driving back and forth on Highway 41, you spend much more time mapping, you're gonna have to readjust your map in here because they are flipping everywhere, so gotta spend a little more time eradicating and
Right.
perhaps less time mapping, because
Yes.
I think pretty soon they're gonna be from Oshkosh all the way to Marinette
Oh,
on
yeah.
both ditches and.
Yeah, so the way it kind of works is we send, there's usually one person that drives and one person that sits in the passenger seat maps. So on Highway 41, they're mapping all that, you know, so that's gonna be one thing where those roadway ditches where it really starts to spread from county to county, that's gonna be the big areas that we're treating in these right.
That treatment happening this fall yet, or?
No, so we're just applying for funding to get it mapped, by starting in the fall, or spring of next year. So then after we do the year after. we're applying for that control.
2025 then, is the soonest it would be controlled.
So we would apply for it after we map it, so ideally we would apply in September of. And then that would roll over to this, technically be for fiscal year 25.
Does Brad Lane's spread more when it's dry in the summer or not? I mean, I thought it like moisture.
Yeah, it's more of like a wet loving plant, but it also likes saline conditions, so the salt along the roadways and stuff can kind of, you know, crowd out the other plants that would potentially be there and make it easier for praying mice to take them. But I'm not sure if the dryness helps or hurts it.
I don't know, it's none of my personal garden I needs.
Right.
Yeah, they're lovely. So I, two questions, sure, personal, is that invasive? It's taking over my yard.
Oh, well, it could be, very well, I'm not sure.
I don't think it's officially.
Yeah, it might be,
It's a
like a
weed
noxious.
for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Not even, not just weed officially, but it grows real well.
Oh, it really, and it matters not what the weather is or the temperature is or anything else. The other one is canary grass.
Yes, that one is free canary, yeah, that one's.
Well, they're kind of almost giving up on it.
Yeah,
because it's so.
It's so hard to figure.
It does have its benefits because it controls a lot of erosion, you know, potentially. That's how it got introduced originally. By USDA, try to.
Do you know when they,
Pardon?
do you know when they introduced it?
Canary grass, probably 50s or 60s. You know, we can't even plant it anymore now, but it does provide benefits, buffers and erosion control and that kind of stuff.
Not hard to- Well, on our property in Sheriff County, it happened in the 50s. Is when-
Start.
Thank you for the update.
Thanks.
Chad. If there's no other questions, we'll move on to announcements. Chad?
Good morning, everyone. Warm morning. Just don't adjust to this warm weather very well. I was up north over the weekend. It was nice and cool, about 50 when I woke up, and 70 during the day. So that's fine. And weather. Handful of updates here. The budget is almost complete. I will be submitting it actually this afternoon and wrapping it up. It will be reviewed with Executive Damo at some point in August for their budget.
That will be Chairman, also.
I don't. Right, we haven't even had it set up yet, so I'm waiting for, I heard it's the last 3 weeks of August is what I heard. We will be over budget. There's a few reasons for that. I have brought in one-time revenue for the department that is no longer there. So that was a little bit of a hit, and wages went up. And then the other hit was we got a reduction in staffing money. Joint finance had shot down some of the grant money for staffing through the state, which is really surprising. We thought there was going to be bipartisan support and everything kind of fell apart. So it's looking like about close to $7,000 reduction for our department. So the the way it's structured right now is they try to fund the first position, highest paid position at 100%, the second at 70%, then they never happens to the 30% at 50%. So right now they have enough for 24 to fund 100% for the first position and only 85%, so 70% of the second position. And it's going to look even worse as years go by and wages go up. So hopefully in the next biennial budget, state budget, they look at this a little more closely and bump those funds up. So it was a little bit of a surprise again. With that reduction. The wildlife damage program, I mentioned that we had lost our processor vaccines, so the deer donation program kind of fell apart last year. And I had DNR reach out to me to try and resurrect that program, to try and reach out to some of the processors. The good thing is that Jody within our department, she has a connection with vaccines. That's who used to be our processor, and they're considering jumping back on board. I think they were overwhelmed with the amount of work, so they opted out of the program. But they're looking to potentially get back in, and if they don't, we got a list of some other ones in the county that might reach out to try and get that program up and running. So how it works is people can donate their deer, they bring it to VEX, they process the deer, and then it gets donated to a food pantry, a local food pantry. We pay the processor $100 a year to process the deer right now through the program. So hopefully we can get that up and running again. We were always doing part of our grant and our break walls, two of our break wall projects, we have to do aquatic plant surveys. So that's going out, and we throw a rake to collect the submergent plants and document the species and how heavy the rake is, if it's full or if there's not a lot of plants, and then we fly the drone to see the emergent plant beds as well. We did the Clark's Bay site and then Savino site by Winnebago, actually over on Lake Winnebago. And I'll bring it to the committee to write with me on the agenda for September, but it was remarkable. The plant response from 2001 to 2021 and 2023. Complete transformation. I was just blown away how nice it looked back there. Crystal clear water, full of plants. I've never seen it respond that quickly. So it'll be a really neat one to share. It's just going to help our cause move forward with that. The other nice thing is we have it's a drone software program that you have to pay. It's $150 subscription each month. So we take 1,000 pictures in this program, merges them all together to a high resolution picture where we can see the type of species, and the clarity is really good at the end of the day. See what's there, and then we measure how much that's expanded. So it went up to 500 a month, and it's getting a little out of budget. So Andy did some research and found this program. It was $57 one-time fee, and it works flawlessly. So saving a lot of money for the department. Yeah.
Oh, done.
Just a little searching online and
A
stumbled on it.
little free exposed there.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah. So that was a savings in the budget for 24. Just want to let you all know that fair obviously is going on. We have a display there showcasing some of the work we do at promoting the department. So if you want to get over there and see that, we have that over there right now. And then last week I met with two representatives from UW Oshkosh. They wanted me to talk about a potential internship program. And in the past, we used to do that like a summer intern, and we haven't done it in a long time. So I'm looking to maybe start that up in 2024. Students can get credits for putting in a certain number of hours working with us. It would have to probably be voluntary in 24 and then maybe in 25 if budgets would allow it, for a little bit of money in there to try and attract students to be able to do the program. So it's a win-win. Student can get experience, and then we can have them work on projects and help also too. So the one thing that we'll do differently that we did in the past before I was in my role is people would just come, we would take them on, and I want to put them through the interview process because we can make sure we get a good student and they get the value of going through an interview. So we'll structure that a little bit differently, but we'll probably be looking to do something for voluntary and build from that. Just in summer. With that. That's all I heard.
Thank you. Any questions?
Yeah, I'm a site by Winnie County. And I love seeing it, I'm glad it's there, etc. They do get beat up pretty bad by the neighbors that are on Twin Harbor that insists they can't get out of there. Of course, they only take their boats out once a month, so if they take them out twice a month, maybe they'd have them half. Are a lot of the weeds that are growing that far away from that rock wall, are those because of the rock wall, when they're there all the time?
No, it's not the great wall doing it. Their wetland was there behind it. Those wetland plants have always grown this way, just all up on the backside. behind them. So it's behind the break wall between the existing vegetation where the break spots.
Yep.
Now, there's a lot more vegetation on the system this year. The water clarity was clear, I think because of the lack of rain. The sediment maybe settled out, but there was a response of vegetation. So that could be what they're seeing and they're trying to point the finger at it, but it has
Yep.
nothing to do with that.
Is the age of milfoil, is that part of the issue too? They just hear that that's.
It could be back there. I know there was very minimal behind the break wall. There was more native plants and it is-
Okay,
they had a little bit of milfoil, but not much at all, but by that area, I don't know what's going on, so. Yeah. They're trying to point their finger at something.
oh, yeah. I tell them all that they should be mad at you, not me, but they know me, they don't know you, so.
Give me a call what you got.
I've had the finger pointed at me before, so
Yeah.
not always the index finger either. So.
Supervisor Durant.
Thank you. Water lilies. Are they protected?
Are they? I think they're protected. It's a native plant. I don't think you can pull them out. I don't know off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure they are protected. And they were behind the break wall that you're talking about, Doug, and they're starting to expand.
Yeah, yeah, they're pretty prolific
Mhm.
up in Nashville,
Yeah.
on the island. They are just, it's very difficult to get through on the canal side
Yeah.
because of the water.
Yeah, it's one of the challenges we're going to have beyond the break walls, working on lake levels and getting more of a aquatic plant response is navigation. It's a shallow system and it's tough because the plants are gonna clean up the water and provide habitat for like the people that want to navigate. So part of the Winnebago Waterways program is they have plants in there to control the aquatic vegetation for navigation. That's part of their thinking about it. It's all part of the bigger picture with this. There's a balance. I mean, it's,
We're talking about canoeing, so we're not talking about motors or anything like that. But thank you.
You want to address anything else?
Well, are we still, are we at announcements?
Yes, yeah.
All right, yes, I do. On Monday is the Judiciary Committee. They are bringing forward their resolution to change the format of committees. I received this a few days ago, and the rule change for electronic devices is coming up as well. Anyway, number 4 on their committee change is natural resources, UW Education, Parks and Rec, Land Conservation. This committee consists of 5 county board supervisors, one of whom is the chairperson of the County Farm Service Agency Committee. Or other county farm service agency committee member designated by the chairperson of the County Farm Service Agency Committee and 1 citizen member. I just wanted to bring this forward. It is being addressed on Monday. And I would tell you that I believe the vote to make this come before the county board is 4-1. That's just my thought process in having observed some of the people on that committee. And I know that they have gone about changing how the land conservation is being addressed because they have to. And when I checked with Chuck this morning to get this into the or for this resolution to pass, it's a simple majority passing. Chuck and I were at the last committee meeting for judiciary, and we spoke up for the land and water committee. And like I say, they're coming on who has to be on that committee to recognize our group is the only change that has happened. And hey, Chuck, we could not have had this on our agenda because their agenda came out on Monday. So it couldn't have been on our agenda.
They're still grouping us together.
Here we are, number 4, natural resources, UW Education Extension Agriculture Committee. B, Parks and Recreation Committee. C, Land Conservation Committee. This committee consists of 5 county board supervisors, one who is the chairperson of the County Farm Service Agency Committee, or other County Farm Service Agency committee member designated by the chairperson of the County Farm Service Agency Committee, and 1 citizen member.
So, but are they still trying to combine us with parks and UW extension?
Yeah.
Number 4, natural resources.
Yeah, okay.
Did they even interview anyone? Did they talk to anyone on any of these committees when they made these decisions?
They have heard from both Chuck and me about it.
I'm talking about the committee that was investigating the committee structure.
Not that I'm aware.
I think it's like,
Does anybody know when it goes to the county board? Is that?
In September.
Is that-
Special order being September, and it will be one of 2 things on it. Actually, one.
And in order for this to pass, is that just a simple majority at the county board or at 3/4?
It's a simple majority of it was Rule 23. The sentence was added apparently several terms ago, specific to committees. It's a simple majority. Simple salaries would be a 2/3 vote. Okay.
so we just need to talk it out.
So it's gonna be, it'll be, what, 19 votes to approve or 19 votes to disapprove, right?
Is it 19? That makes 36, 19? No, that's 38, so it would be
You got a
18.
majority now, so.
Yeah.
One over.
Yeah.
It will be a critical vote, obviously.
Could I still be on the county board if I'm not on a committee?
Yeah.
That's the way it's looking.
Well, that is gonna dovetail the issue with the salary. So it all depends how that works. Can you be on the county board without being on a committee? Yes.
That's
Probably
probably
they'll do their best to assign you to a commission or some other thing. But if you are very insistent, I want to be on a committee, I don't believe you have.
You're taking over committees away from me. Right.
Yeah. Well, this is a proposal.
I know, but
So we'll see.
it's a conservative board and that'll fly. It'll go, it'll pass.
I'm not convinced.
I'm not,
I'm not convinced.
Hey, Doug, I'm not convinced of that.
Okay, good.
I do know there's 5 board members that certainly are sympathetic from solid waste, and solid waste did get pulled out and it's going to be left alone, but there's 5 other board members that certainly have concerns as to why we're probably everything.
I was thinking that maybe solid waste could be combined with the Wood Fox Library System Board.
Yeah,
I mean, that's a perfect fit right there.
Because when you're done with books, you'll take them to the landfill. I see the connection.
well, thank you, Supervisor Grant, for that update. If we have time, so we will attend Monday night. I look forward to the discussion. And this will probably be a very critical vote during our term. Just give it due diligence, if you would.
So Chuck, I've got another question regarding that. If it passes, would it be able to be brought forward again in 24 after the election?
Yes, that is the responsibility of the judicial committee. So, and changes to the rules of the county board are to be brought forward during the organizational meeting of the next term or within the month after that. So it can be changed during that time. But it would depend who's on the judicial committee, right?
Right.
When this going into effect, as soon as it's approved?
No, next term.
Maybe the next term.
So a lot of things dovetail into that. I mean, the salary issue dovetails, whether or not people are going to accept this and run for reelection, that dovetails into this. So there's a lot on the table.
Let's say one other comment, if Parks and Recreation and land conservation, well, it sounds kind of nice. I think one before. Chad is doing everything to build some rock walls and get the vegetation and protecting the shoreline and not knocking the Parks and Recreation, but my God, I got folks up on a boating on Winnebago site and my goodness, every day they have to check the site to see where all the green water is so they know where to go and party. And it's like, we're the ones spraying all the nitrogen and we're going to build bigger boat launches and there's more pressure. And of course that brings in money and they have their right to their recreation. But how we combine trying to conserve and protect everything with how we promote more users to be using it. I don't see the
That's
connection.
very good. And I brought that up that night at the commission. We're just not compatible. We have two different focuses.
Everything they're
Put it
doing
together is incompatible.
yeah.
But Chuck, I would also say, who listens? We've got to get attention. And my thought is, Chad, you might choose to be there to talk about the differences because they look at me and they say, what do you know?
You might choose to run like hell.
But I would prefer as your chairman to keep this discussion primarily within the elected officials of the board. You must remember, the directors of this county report to the county executive. So we want to be
You
careful.
lucky
with this.
duck.
We don't want to put them on the spot. So, but I don't think that you would deny that there is a compatibility issue. Right. Yeah, so. And I don't know if we're gonna have the opportunity to debate the ins and outs of the proposal. I assume we'll have the option to amend, perhaps. These are all things Mary Ann's got to work out. So with that, but I think the discussion about whether to approve or disapprove needs to be quite pointed and quite likely.
So can I ask, I know I had to give the two proposals, keep them separate and combine. What changed? Well, now, and what's the proposal issue? Because the chairman's decision. Provide a secondary option for having them separate.
I guess I don't know. I would say perhaps politics get involved a little bit. Obviously different opinions. One person on the ad hoc committee was concerned and thought maybe they could reconsider. But he's 1 out of 5.
So one more question for me. Can you send me points, because I'm going to be there on Monday, that in the public discussion I can bring up
Bullet points?
bullet points?
I mean, I can, if you look at the mission of our department compared to others, it's a lot. in itself, but I can expand off of that or.
If you would do that during the public discussion, I'll say that, and I will not bring your name up. I'll say I read the vision
Please
statement.
use discretion. That is a very important part of not only the county process, but as director of this department. So we don't want to, we want to make the point known. We want to address it forcefully, but without jeopardizing anybody's position.
Perfect. Thank you.
Anything else under announcements? I think we're done with that. Chair's report is 0. Anybody got a question of myself?
No, but I did want to bring up that yesterday in my Google Photo Memories, it was the 5-year anniversary of our last field trip.
Like the.
Oh, field trip, yeah.
Yeah, that, we went to the Statler site that year, wasn't that?
Yeah, well, I can't walk as far as I used to. Like,
Yeah,
so
yesterday was the 5-year.
if they got a YouTube, I think they're called,
We can get one.
that would be most important.
Yeah.
Anybody else want to get in there with me? How about it? Not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can have everything kind of close and.
Yeah.
Get one of them trailers with 8 golf carts sitting.
Yeah.
All around.
I think that's a very good comment. We should look at that at some point in time. Actually, the association we belong to, are they looking at anything?
They typically do tours in the region.
Tour,
not
yeah.
Here.
Showing off what they've done.
Yeah, but we have a lot we could show on Stabbing since you've been there. See Breakwell now, Breakwell Lane.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did a number of things there. So.
Good idea. Let's see, how together we are or how disgruntled we are after September.
I got a pontoon boat, I'm glad
There you go.
those 2 break walls. I mean that sincerely.
We could do lakeshore stuff and make a tour of that.
Sure.
Oh, that would be cool.
Great idea. Yeah. Yeah, thank you.
I need to take a non-paid vacation.
Okay, are we ready for business items? I believe we are. Updated report, I requested this because we haven't heard much from Winnebago Waterways program. Obviously, there were some issues with people leaving and that kind of stuff, so Chad, if you would bring us up to date, what's going on?
Okay, a lot going on with the program, but like Chuck alluded to, the Winnebago Waterways Program Director, Corinne During, she left and went to the private sector, and they're having a heck of a time getting that position filled. So they're posting it again, trying to do outreach, and they're hoping to get interviews done sometime this year to get that position filled. So they're going to create an interview panel with steering team members. I'm on that steering team and the executive committee. They may be asking a couple of those members to sit in on those interviews, but
What's the salary?
I think it's starting around mid-60s. I think. Okay.
Is that a concern? If you can't draw people, why? You have to look at
It's
other options there.
it's a common theme across the board filling positions right now, so they're, and again, a lot of that's grant driven, being a nonprofit, they're a little bit limited in how much they can offer. They just did get salary increases by the board this year, so those, it might be a tough time. So we'll see, that was a big loss of Corinne. She was,
Yeah.
a great number on it. It's very unfortunate that that didn't work out. So the other thing that, a number of things, one thing, as far as the Winnebago Waterways program, they had a proposal that went to, through the budget process with the governor's budget to include 2 DNR positions for the Winnebago system, because there's such a shortfall with DNR employees that because of the size of the lakes, they want to get 2 positions added. That failed with that effort. I think it's just the agency itself, it's just a little bit of a hard sell with DNR and positions. Through the program, we're working with, the program is working with GPI, it's an engineering firm to do a stream bank inventory. So they're doing 4 sub-watersheds in the Winnebago waterways region. We have one of them, our Rat River watershed. That was the first inventory that was done. So they're doing these inventories and they're basically looking at all the stretches of streams to document erosion, probably at the end of the day, what they're looking for. And then that's part of our 90 element plan that we're working in the county. So that's one component that DNR is requiring. So they're doing 1 sub-watershed for the counties, and then we will take it from there to learn the protocol for those inventories. And this is where summer intern can be helpful to continue that with the different sub-watersheds in the future. We want to get additional funding. So that's being done. The climate smart commodity grants, that's a big one through the program right now. They're still working with USDA trying to get some of the work figured out, the proposal. So they're looking at October having something in place. I have it built in my budget for 2024 to have a position and funding to start sometime in 2024. So they're working through all those details. There's about $13 million in the region. We're getting about 3/4 of that. So that's advancing. Few other things. Some of the projects in the county, the program is working on is we have the Sanders Bay Carroll's Island project. They partnered with us on that one. There's about 2,500 more feet of break wall that will hopefully go in this winter. We'll cross our fingers because the grants are getting close to expiring, so we're hoping to get that done this winter. We have the Rat River grant that we're working with the champion farmers. That's Emily in our department working with that grant. It's with no-till cover crops. So that we're in our 2nd year with that, which is hard to believe. It's already been 2 years. There's an evaluation of break wall effectiveness that we're working with PW Oshkosh. So they're pulling samples, doing some water quality monitoring. So you put in these break walls and they just want to see more scientific data to show the value of these break walls. It was an ask by some of the grant people to do that, just to show that they work. So we just have some more of that data proving that projects. We had the Calvis Country Club, that was a project south of Oshkosh that we partnered with, helped design it and provided some funding. That's a big wetland restoration project that Fox Wolf helped out with. There's fish stick projects that are done all over the system through the Winnebago Waterways program. When I say fish sticks, that's just trees that are dropped in the water for the fish for habitat. So there's areas designated where they're putting in these fish sticks. We have the aquatic invasive species program, so I'll be meeting with them. We partner with Fox Wolf to have them run that EIS program in the region. So we get about, I think it's 15 to 18,000 from DNR. We get it to them, and then all those funds are pooled by the different counties that fund that program. Fox Wolf, they have Chris Stacy really drive that program with aquatic invasive species. With that is the Clean Boats, Clean Water. That's part of the program. So we go to launch. We'll talk about this.
These programs continue. People with the loss of unemployment, actually, it's two.
Yeah.
Who's actually doing it? And is it a little more emphasis with our department and other conservation departments, or
There's,
how you work on that to continue to get the work done?
yeah, I mean, some of the programs, we're maybe pulling a little bit more, but the bulk of it's ending up on Jessica Schultz's shoulders, and there's 2 Katies that are there that are working on it. So Katie Woodrow, I think her last name is, she's with the climate smart part, so she's taking that over. And then they're just kind of teaming out to try and pull that extra work until they do that. So they have a lot on their plate right now. With those federal grants, they end up getting awarded 2 of them. And they're anticipating that, so they have groups. So
Do they have the option to bring in interns or people to help?
I think they do.
Because they're stepping up, and there's some more responsibility. Part-time.
Sorry, our department.
No, from hired.
Oh. Again, they could do volunteer.
Okay.
That was something that I did right out of college. I had an intern internship and ended up turning into a full-time job in Sheriff County. When I look at applications, you know, your degree is one thing, but experience needs more. So even if you volunteer for a summer, that carries a ton of weight in trying to get more. So there are these opportunities.
Especially those coming out of Stevens Point. And that, you know,
That's a popular one. So we have a lot going on. It's still moving forward with, it's Katie Reed is the other name I was looking at. She's the other coordinator that worked with Troy. So things have to keep advancing. We have grants, we can't just stop. So it's moving forward and hopefully get that position filled. This part.
the questions of Cat. We were just discussing, of course, there's an executive committee that oversees the policies and all that. We haven't met in quite a while, so Chad's gonna try to put something together maybe late fall. We'll kind of get an update of where we're at that. And we'll put it on the agenda if there's any changes or something we need to discuss. Okay, well, now move to a hearing on question. We'll move to business item B. Let me start, and this is the, let me read this for the public review and discuss the final draft of the Land Water Conservation Department Spirit Fund Program Policy Plan. Let me start by recognizing the work that went into this document by staff of the department.
What a great job.
This is going to be impressive today, so
Yeah. It's really.
we certainly really appreciate that as a committee. It is very well done, so make sure they're aware of that. Let everyone know. Yeah. Okay, now, once again, this is just a review and discuss. And let's talk about the reason why this is a discussion. It's been determined, obviously, with my point of view, which disagreed a little bit with some in administration, that this needs county board approval. To bring it to the county board, we need a resolution, which was supposed to be drafted a week and a half ago, but we haven't got it done yet. So the next step, we'll put it on the agenda for September, hopefully for final approval, including the resolution that will go to the county board. Now, let me explain at least my thinking, why it needs to go to the county board. If you'll turn to page 4. I should have marked this up. I apologize for that. Page 3. 2. Oh, I'm sorry, page 2.
And the goal point on final.
Okay, if we're looking at the second bullet point from the top of the page down. I believe there is no issue with this committee or future committees working with the director of the department to add or subtract conservation practices. Everyone agree with that? Then that should be the responsibility of the director to bring it forward. And ready with add to the document. However, we get into a little issue with the caution. The 90% under the Spirit Fund. We have all witnessed an issue with the county board approval in regard to the funding for the municipality. And I think we're all becoming aware that there can be misinterpretations about the process. I don't want that to happen to this or future committees in regard to that 90% caution. So I'm deliberately trying to make it harder to amend that 90%. that's what that states in there. So the committee, the director of the department can look at all different conservation practices, but if you're going to amend the 90% cost share, you need county board approval. I think that puts a safeguard in place for future committees on the road. And hopefully you all agree with that. Or anyone that would disagree with that, let me do.
But the only thing that I'm thinking about is when we were discussing that 90%, I brought up 80%, and the whole group said, don't think so, Kay.
Right.
I think whatever safeguards we can put in to the majority of the people in this room at this point in time is what needs to happen. So if that's a county board approval to change it.
Yeah, it makes it more difficult, it raises some stuff. Future committees could come along and say, well, we want 100%, we want to pick a number, 70%, whatever. So I think we have a lot of work to get the money, and we need to ensure that in the future, the 90% is still there available to the residents of this county down the road until the funds are exhausted.
My concern on that is that there are quite a few members on the county board who would see that 90% figure and automatically say, no. We know how important that 90% is to get the work done that needs to get done, but they just see money going out that they don't want to spend. This money's already been allocated from the spirit funds. It doesn't make any difference because there are people who see that 90 and automatically want to be a no.
I share that same sentiment.
I agree with you.
I share that also. So that's why think of those individuals that you're referring to in general were the committee.
Yeah.
This committee. So it would be very easy to change. My point is to make it another step higher to make those changes. And let's talk about the process. In order to amend that, the committee has to recommend, it has to come before the committee. The committee would recommend or deny the change, right? That would go to the county board. Now, if you deny it, it don't go anywhere, right? We all know all that committee stuff.
So my question then on the resolution that we'll be presenting on this, will it mention, I mean, will it have all the percentages in it when it goes before the board?
I think we do. I think Chad has done an excellent job of establishing the percentages within this policy. Some are 70, some are 90, some have limits like 50,000, some have acreage limits. So those are all part of the policy we're looking to put on.
I just was trying to think of- You're not thinking of, I know. Administration is working on that resolution to capture all that information in a resolution. Right? There's a lot.
Oh, no, in fact, I'm a little disappointed that I agreed to allow a member of administration to draft a resolution. I did that, it was acting on Tom's behalf in his absence. So I think what we're going to do now is, if this person wants to send it forward, but I'm probably going to draft one. And then I'll bring it. And I'll work on it together.
I don't think it'll be an issue because when we voted on the spirit fund transfer to the department, I think it was 100% yay.
Yes,
So
I intend to make it quite simple. But with the language from here, from this draft, will be duplicated within the resolution. But it's basically a very simple resolution recognizing the policy, the name of the policy, and in the whereas, and then we get to the therefore. So we'll have that hopefully ready to go in September.
Will it then be able to come before the board at the meeting in,
September,
not the first, but the second?
yes,
Couple
the
of questions.
regular business.
At this point in time, we know the people who are on this committee, and we know where the feelings are, specifically from the folks who are the farmers. if in fact this changes come 24, we need to make sure, in my head and heart, we need to make sure that you guys are represented now, because you may not be here next year. Hey, I'm gonna say, I am sure we have the power today. We may not have the power come April.
That is excellent, spot on. Yes, be wary of change.
Absolutely.
But we have an excellent. And our work needs to carry forward, hopefully, into the next term and beyond, so. That's.
So draft your own resolution, excuse me. Draft your own resolution. Don't let anybody from administration do it.
Well, if they want to do it, we'll look at it. And respect, and then the resolution that comes before this committee will probably be drafted ourselves, but we will consider the input from the.
Will the Old County Board have a copy of this?
Yeah.
That, I just think this speaks volumes. If I wasn't on this committee and I got this and showed that you guys had your stuff so well put together and organized, I wouldn't even question the vote, to be quite honest. So I think this packet almost guarantees that there will be very little discussion on it, in my opinion.
I'm hoping that's the direction it goes and they don't get too far into the weeds with the details.
Yep, I mean, you've intentionally tried to figure out how to stretch that 3 million as long and far out as we can. That's the whole goal, because I don't see another 3 million coming along anytime soon. So,
And with that, one example is that break wall that I'm looking at in Winnebago. It could be $500,000 and $750,000. So I approached a grant source under NDA, pitching it on that we do 50% straight up funding and then get 40% from that grant, so we can make that one further as my mindset.
There you go.
and will Chad be at that meeting to answer questions on it?
I'm certainly hope so. Yeah. I will say this, I'm in my 22nd year of being on this committee. And it was always rare. I can't recall when we were questioned or a resolution from this committee was denied. We have strong support. I hope that support will continue into the future. But when you make all these changes, well, I shouldn't say we, but the changes that are being, in my mind, somewhat cast a little doubt as to that circle. So that's why I'm quite concerned about what's going on.
And I question the number of people who actually go about reading their packets when we receive them, because there seems to be a lot of questions that come up before the board meetings, which indicate that you have not read what's in your packet. I tend to think the very fact that this is here says as many pictures as you can put in here, do it, because it's easier to see it than to read it.
I think the cover letter really covers it all.
But it's just
You
beautiful.
got ag, you got lake frontage, you got gardens. What's the flower represent?
Shoreline buffer, rain.
Shoreline buffer.
Soil health, this one.
Just the bottom one, lower left, is waterway.
with the bumper.
Check.
And the line of butterflies are habitat, I assume, right?
That's fabulous.
What's that?
Who found that butterfly?
That's right out front here. One of my staff got a picture of that right out on the right there.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Just, I like that, we could not have, there's no way we could have done better, so I did it, super.
Appreciate it.
Well, and my last point is that this very document says that this needs to be its own committee.
Yeah, I'm sure, the other departments are not going to understand the depth of this document as we. Not even close. Now, I've discussed the initiative here overall. We're back to wordsmithing the document. Is there anyone that has a correction or concern about the written part of the document?
On page 2, bullet point 2,
Page 2,
bullet point 2,
bullet point 2.
and page 7, bullet point 1, 2, 3, 4,
That's right, you brought that up. Page 7.
bullet point 4.
Bullet point 4. Page 7, the maximum cost share cap may be exceeded with approval of the LCC. Good point. Does that sentence refer to the $50,000 cap or the cost share cap?
So that's, as I read it further, Bruce, I interpret that as the percentage can change with county board approval. This is the cap. So two different things. So we have a cap of 50,000. The reason I want to be able to have your approval, and I would hate to have to go to the board to increase the cap. For example, breakable, it's going to be over 50,000. If I have to come here for the cost share committee approval, then I have to go to the board to be over 50,000. You guys will approve these contracts every month like we do with the county program. So I see that as a big time delay if I have to take it to the board to exceed the cap. Now the percentage, what Chuck was talking about, I totally agree with. We're going to change the overall concept and structure of the program, by increasing the rate, decreasing that percentage rate. But the cap, I think the cap should be up to the LCC, because that's going to be each month that making things in.
And again, I brought it up for the sake that I don't disagree with that statement. I just didn't know if bullet point 2 on page 2 and bullet point 4 on page 7 were contradictory for me.
Yeah, I read it more closely, and I guess that's up to the committee if you see the cap the same as the percentage.
I'm fine with.
Do you understand cap does not refer to the cost share
Yeah.
percentage?
So Chad has a project that's gonna exceed that, so we've always done.
Yeah, like the-
Drive to us and we say yes or nay, and
Yeah.
I think we always say yay, but that's.
We have a $20,000 cap with the county program, and you guys have approved beyond that when we take it. So it's kind of that same thought process.
Well, I also have concern with the interpretation of that sentence. Well, good. Bruce, you're good? Is there something that we could, I hate to have to go back and change the document, although I suppose it's quite simple with computers nowadays, but. Is there a way we could portray that understanding? Or can we just leave it up to the director and trust that you're gonna be here for another 20 years and that's the understanding, right?
Like 20.
We want to keep it long.
It'll be a while, but to me, it's pretty self-explanatory to me. Because
If you're okay with it, I just, when I read it, I didn't know if there was a conflict
Yeah.
between the two.
And I
I
read it a
think
few
you're
times.
right in the same way, that it could be misunderstood by someone that doesn't have the background.
And there's several caps that allow the community to see a greater difference, so we have to
So it's mentioned multiple times in the past. Is
Mr.
there,
Wright saying leave it.
I'm good, it's not discussion.
anyone else have a concern? Anything in the document that you're concerned about, any of the work?
Well, just another thought, is we had exclusively, we had a list that we had at the beginning, and I talked to Chad earlier, that we, under best management practices, there is a vehicle that falls underneath this, that's not listed in what we talked about, and I just asked them to bring those back forward and just sort of referencing the regulatory and what we had talked about. So know that the four practices that are covered, you don't remember that, besides what's on it, it's baked in there.
So that would be what Bruce is referring to under the structural best management practice portion of it.
What page do you want?
That would be page 7. So the first part of it is kind of an umbrella with all of our best management practices unless otherwise specified below. So what I'm passing around is AdCap 50. What I have highlighted there shows the practices, the number of practices, which are a handful of them that we can cost share under that umbrella unless otherwise identified differently below, which will have a separate sheet for each one.
If I may interrupt, chapter 50, TCP, limit our administrative rule. And that is the guideline that allows this department, under statutory reference, to initiate all these different practices. Bear in mind that this rule can be changed by legislative action, correct?
Yeah.
But currently, this is the rule that is the guide to establish everything.
I would just make a note in your minutes that this applies under page 7 of bullet point 1, that of that fact.
And then the other sheet was, that was the initial best guess estimate to the county board. So I used this to build the spirit fund policy plan and kind of build on top of that. So it was my best guess to come up with 3 million. And then we created the programs by having this that went through the board. So this was our start for creating that.
I think to Bruce's point, these are very good reference documents that you might want to keep with spirit fund documents, the policy document, just for future reference. I mean, hopefully, we will all continue on this committee next term if we choose to run again. And this would be a good supporting document before that was determination.
So can I just mention a couple of just quick things, higher level? I'm sure you've all read through it, but basically the priority for the department will be our county program and money we get and our state funds. So we will sign up those funds to allocate the money first, and then we'll turn to the spirit funds after. So this will supplement those other programs because we can't do it 90% of those programs. So we'll be doing 2 contracts till we get those 2 programs all allocated, and then we'll flip into the spirit fund program for other practices.
So what that means is you sign a contract for 70% cost share, my interpretation. In addition to that, you'll have another contract, correct, to pick up the 20% from the spirit fund. So the spirit fund is supplementing the programs already in place. That allows us to get to that 10 to 15 year time frame.
I do have another question with that. On page 2, then it says no more than 15 years.
Yeah.
What happens if you got money residual at 15 years?
The goal is to have it all allocated and spent in 15 years. And I would think if we had contracts, for example, for soil health that like past 15 years, we would have to get committee approval and probably go beyond 15 years. I would have to take it.
So then 10 to 15 would
That's
exceed
the
the
goal.
deal with that at that time.
Yeah, if I gave us 15 years, and I'm anticipating it would be done before now. But I wanted to give us that flexibility, and like I said, be able to leverage other money. And I feel like I have to quickly spend this money because it's an opportunity, it's local money that I can use as match for grant writing the next 15 years, which should be huge.
It does say in your spirit fund on conservation practices, so for 15 years, so you are tying the terminology on page 2 to the intent.
Yeah,
The county board has to have this money allocated by the end of 24, is that correct?
I am told as soon as this passes the board, we can start signing contracts in our department, that we're ready to go.
I'm just,
That's the assurances we've been given.
so the county board or the ARPA fund or the Spirit Fund has got to have all of the money distributed by the end of 24.
No.
No, what, and that's specifically that money as opposed to once that is allocated, an independent department can then spend that money over the time frame that they choose to spend it on. Does that make sense? Does my question make sense?
When
It does
we-
in my head.
When we decided to go from ARPA to the word spirit, using lost revenue as the excuse to do that. That pretty much through the regulations under ARPA helps go. So now you have your, but the ARPA commission or Spirit Fund Commission, which I'm a member of, our intent was that these funds be used in the spirit of ARPA. So we try to follow those items. However, once the money is allocated, I'm not aware of any specific time frame that it would have to be used to an extent. The exception is the document that administration prepared and sent to all the towns. That has a time frame. So,
And
as
what's the
with,
deadline on that one, Sean? Was that
I think it's 24. I don't have it in front of me,
Well, this one started out at 5 or 6.
but it's not going to affect our department.
It
And
just-
this one's,
Yes,
because it should be put into a separate item number in the budget process, correct? Help me out here with that. 'Cause
yeah, it's,
we're a little concerned about where the money is going to go. Okay, now it's been appropriated, it goes to the department. How's that actually going to be done?
so my understanding is, it's not in my budget, so I don't budget for it, it's in a separate ARPA account set aside for this department, so I have the account number that I have to reference as we process our paperwork, and it comes over that, I don't have to do any carryovers or anything, I just have to track internally how the money's being spent, how much, to make sure that. the
But
state-
we had talked about 2 more employees coming out of that fund also. For now,
There's no staff with this money.
there wasn't.
That was initially, but that was not the.
The final, yeah. But, so if you hire more staff, it's either going to be by grant or by budget. The question I have is, okay, now you got the separate account. You got a project that's done and completed. They have to be paid, the contract. What's that process? Do they cut a check from that account and send it to them? So that's a financial administrative function.
So how it works is, the project goes in, we certify the stuff.
Yeah.
The landowner pays the contractor, well,
So the landowner's paying up front.
the landowner pays up front, and we have the contractor sign a form saying they were paid 100%. Then we do a practice verification and process the paperwork, get the 90% cost share, and the check is written out to who's on a cost share agreement, typically the landowner or the operator. So that I refer to the account, which is the ARPA account, we'll pull it out of that account, I get a check cut to the department that we give to them. That's the process.
It's a reimbursement process.
It's a reimbursement.
So let's say we got a farmer putting in a practice and it's 50 grand. Right? Do they run down and sold the loans for 50 grand? They pay for it?
So if it's a higher cost project, we do have an option of doing a 2-party check with the contractor. It's too much. Here. we can do a two-party check, it's too much for land.
Good, because, everyone doesn't have that capability of the upfront that time. All right, good. It sounds to me like you've got everything worked out.
So the one thing that internally we have to track it all, and on page 2 on the bottom, I had to identify an estimated cost. So right now, and this can change each year depending on the demand of the program, but the structural BMP program is 1.9 million. Soil health program is about 830,000, and the conservation buffer program is 300. So this number, those are gonna kind of shift, but internally, I'm gonna create 3 financial spreadsheets to track those different programs in the department. So we have to put each cost share agreement, the dollar amounts as they get paid. It's gonna be a lot of moving parts going on, but I think that's the best way to go ahead.
So that money will be fungible.
It will be what now?
Fungible, you'll be able to pay for something in a different fund from a different fund.
It'll come right out of ARPA money.
Yes,
So it will come straight from that.
okay.
Yeah, so like grants, we would pay up front, the county covers it, and then I get reimbursed on the back end. This is gonna get pulled right out of that county process.
And if one area exceeded, you could slush fund it back over. Correct?
Yeah, so let's say our conservation buffer program is popular and we're exceeding 300,000, and I would take it to all of you to talk about, okay, we need to shift a little bit out of the structural BMP program because we're getting a good buy.
Once again, just committee approved.
I know we've talked about this.
Where's that $3 million? That's still with the county, and will it stay with the county? Is there such a thing as interest or investment on that money? And is that all the county,
Let me address
county doing
Let
it?
me address the interest issue. And that is on the agenda for a meeting, I believe it's on the 10th. Now, how did they come up? It's because the county executive wanted a new position, which was not approved to committees. And he wanted to pay for that position using the interest money. Total in excess of $400,000. During that discussion, it was revealed to the commission that the interest is somewhere between $700,000 and $1 million. And I think that was as of last month.
Is that annual?
But no, that's approved, and we've had the money for 3 years. So
That's up to
that's
this
approved interest to this point. It will be a discussion on the 10th about that interest money. Who's responsible for it and what can we do for it? So that dovetails into your question. As we go forward, there's a lot of unanswered questions and a lot of how are we going to apply this money to what? I'm very hopeful that I've been given assurance that the money allocated to this department is going to be secure and in a separate account administered by the finance director of the. That's not where it is. It's up to us or future committees to make sure those words are kept.
Oh, not easy, is it?
Yeah, that's.
In a rational world, we could do
You know, y'all have been educating me for the last 18 months. I still don't get it. It's interesting. How does somebody who's brand spanking new come to this and know that history without people who know that history being there to tell them about?
True. That's life. That's what it is.
Oh, I don't know that I want to hear that part of life.
I think we've done an excellent job, certainly with the report of the process to put this together, the process to keep it open and amendable, because because sometimes people read things a month later and they come up with something new. I think we've entertained that to the best of our ability. So we're now in the final stage. We will have it on the agenda for next month. You'll have one more shot to bring issues up for discussion and change if necessary.
For approve and review,
Pardon me?
for approve and review, that date, next month.
Yes, we'll have the resolution to take to the county board. We'll have the document finalized. After that, then I will request an agenda item for the county board at the regular business meeting.
But you'll have our minutes that we can approve.
Yes,
We do appointment or
all that will be done and committee vote. That will be on.
So can I ask, I'm not hearing any changes in this document, so instead of printing it off for the September meeting, are you guys been keeping this? And then we'll just do the resolution instead of printing it all off for your packets. So, yeah.
Yeah, we don't need another.
No,
unless
no,
there's
this
a
is-
change.
This has that nice.
So this is the final one you're gonna get. Hang on.
All that colored ink.
Yeah.
Colored ink is very expensive.
I'll bring it with you next month, and we'll have the resolution. In the packet that's sent out to you. So we'll have them both available for discussion and approval or visible.
I can tell you, I was at a county con meeting
Oh, yeah, you gotta tell them.
in July. They give each county con an opportunity to be able to talk about one big thing there.
A little background there at Stevens Point, right? We've all been to them in this big room, you know, and all that. You got the caution in the back and all that stuff. These are all county cons. You should have had 72.
I don't know if they all were there, but that's.
Go ahead.
But it was pretty exciting to be able to mention this program. It pretty much outshined everything else, and I had a lot of comments after, just complimenting the work that's done, the good work that we accomplished over the next decade here. So thank you for your support. I'm looking forward to the effort. Doing the things.
We didn't have a PowerPoint of this, so you could show it off.
I did, not that.
I can say that we're not, this committee and the department are moving forward with an initiative that really benefits conservation in this county. But in addition to that, we are certainly showing leadership within the state by far. So, well done.
Well, and I'm gonna say leadership within the departments in the county. It's pretty cool. Thank you.
If there's nothing else on this document, we will move on to agenda item C. Do I hear anything else on D?
Thank you,
Okay,
thank you.
C, review and approve the resolution to request authority to apply for a Department of Agricultural and DADCAP producer-led watershed protection grant.
I'm sure.
With that?
Second,
A motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Little background on it.
Yeah. I mean,
Sure,
put
go
it
ahead,
together.
sorry.
Hang on,
I have to
gotta-
leave at 10:30, so I'm here.
Okay, I'll talk.
I'm gonna take.
So I know we talked about this in the past. I have a map here to pass around too. Is that around? So this group consists of 12 producers in the Lake Point and Buck 10 watershed, which is getting passed around. So these producers, they wanted to create a group to really promote water quality and soil health as their main mission. So they're looking to go for a $5,000 grant, and with the grant, they're looking to hold 2 field days, a winter workshop, and then some promotional materials, signage, and apparel for their group.
Good shot.
So with that, we would be the collaborator, because through the state, you have to have a collaborator identified. So we are working with this group, and we are also the fiscal agent. So we are handling the money on the back end of it. So it's the first producer-led group in the county. They're really engaged in doing soil health initiatives, so it's going to really dovetail with some of our programs and getting the word out there. The nice thing is for the in-kind match, we have 2 existing grants in this watershed area that we actually use this in-kind match. So it's really easy to meet the one-to-one match that is required with the grant. So It's just asking for approval to apply and accept the funds in 2024 for the Money Bottom Farm Producer.
They have a key, name.
Yep, Money Bottom Farmers.
Bruce? And we can say about that. Okay, I have a motion on the floor and a second. Any further discussion on the motion?
Can I ask what the first and second motion did that again?
I moved for it in case it.
Hold a second. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Oh, hearing none, motion carries unanimously. We will now move on to agenda item B as in David. Review and approve the Winnebago County water quality improvement cost share agreements. Identify the CSAs, you should have a copy of that.
We have two of them, a weather management, and actually Lynn here is doing a rain garden for our department. It sounds like it's excavated and moving forward, so that would be the second one. We'll put in a nice rain garden on the property.
Well, this is on your property. This is going to require strict scrutiny. Do I have a motion to approve as submitted?
So moved.
Second. Motion is second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposition, nobody. No, it would bear unanimously. So now I've got- Okay, project list. Review the, here we are. Review the land and water conservation project list.
So again, two of these are what you just approved for the well abandonment and the rain garden, and then there's a third rain garden in the city of Oshkosh. That's kind of a commercial site, a lot of exposure. It's right across from the admin building. So it's a neat location that we can get some promotional stuff in for rain garden. So that's another rain garden that would be.
So is that like on the edge of the post office parking lot?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Question.
Yeah, it's east of the post office, a little bit, there's a parking lot
Parking
there.
lot, and then you got an abandoned business.
That's, I think, I don't know if that's the abandoned business, but it's,
The big old brick building.
there's a brick building on the back end of it, and parking lots on both sides of the property.
Oh, back was fire.
Is it visible from the road?
Not in the parking lot, it will be, but not. Behind the building.
And we're doing this for individual landlords.
Yeah, so that landowner, she actually works with our IS department, it's her and her husband that own the building, and they want to do it. So she saw, I think it was a Facebook post that we did. Interested in signing up for the building, so.
All right. Any other questions on the project list? Hearing none, the next thing on the agenda is a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
And the second? All in favor? Opposed, hearing none, motion carried, we're adjourned, and thank you very much for your discussion today.
Thank you. Chad, thank you again for all the hard work. And that great monarch photo. I love it.
Pictures do speak down, so.
Hey, are you any relation to that Haran on the
Julie, you're a little bit smaller,
USA
you look better in person.
soccer team?
Well, you see,
There's a Haran on the team.
I see you're really big.
I didn't realize that I looked big on the street.
Well, let me tell you, it is not me.
It's really good. She's tall and athletic.
I was at a meeting at George Ross.
Yeah, I don't know when
I'll be
back in
And
person,
I'll
but.
tell you
Julie,
what, it's not
thank you.
here today.
Thank you for attending. Well done.
We're actually studying, and she's on the volleyball team.
We'll see you at the next county board meeting.
So what nationality is that?
Is
Irish?
Yeah, out there they have.
So if I walked into an Irish pub and said Germany soccer #1, I better hightail it out of there.
All right.
Thanks again.
Yeah, so. guys came in.
Good to see you again.
It's
We were
always,
with our helicopter
always.
and didn't know where to land, so I told them, well, you can just land at Woodhouse and give the address. So I didn't realize that they were playing volleyball that day, so everybody that's playing volleyball is waving at them as they're trying to land. So then they actually chose to land in Redkey's lot there right next to the bridge. Yeah, and there was, and of course, no. So that got into a little bit of a piss and match, but then they were willing, they took the police chief and the lieutenant and the new administrator from the village up for a spin around Winnie County, and took myself and my kids up for a spin around Winnie County. And then the other part of the group are the ones that fly around with the jetpacks.
You didn't try that, did you?
Yeah, I would have loved to. They actually set up, they said, we always like to kind of practice, because they do it at the airstrip. He said, we like to kind of practice, make sure everything's working good over water before we go do it over blacktop. So they stood on the pier with their jetpacks and jumped in the air and flew over to the fin and came back and flew around.
That would be fun to try.
They had just come back from Ukraine,
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
I'm just.
and they were over in Ukraine,
Gonna be tough.
because there's some areas where there's so much mud
There's
and
certain
muck.
areas